Welcome to the Heart of Real Estate podcast with Mike McFarland and Steven Salinas with the Mortgage Mike Group. On the podcast, Mike and Steven discuss with top producing real estate agents what makes them successful, unique, and purpose-filled. Each episode holds a key to unlocking a door to financial freedom.
Hey guys. Welcome to the Heart of Real Estate podcast. Yes. I am Steven Salinas, one of the podcast hosts here, and I have my special guest. Actually, not my special guest. He's always my guest.
I'm a guest in your heart.
Our group's bobblehead. We've got Mike McFarland.
I am Mike McFarland.
Yeah,
co-host of the Heart of Real Estate podcast. So, and we have you know what? You're listening to the right podcast if Steven.
Yeah, if you are a real estate professional, whether you're a real estate agent, a loan officer, insurance broker, a title rep, if you just want to get into the industry, this is the right podcast for you. Our slogan is bringing people together. We're really looking to bring together the right people with the right hearts. That's the Heart of Real Estate podcast.
Yeah,
right.
And
we know if we bring the right people together, that we can make a really amazing difference in the lives of the people we serve.
Yeah.
And that's why we have our special guest.
Yeah. So we'll just mention this because if you're listening to the right podcast, if you're looking to build a team, if you're looking at what are the systems, what are the processes, what are job roles,
what do I do?
Yeah. How do I do this? Like, I know I need to do something because it doesn't need to land on my shoulders. Mm-hmm. This is the right podcast for you. So, and we have a great guest today, Austin Jones.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Austin,
this is exciting.
Thanks for joining us with the Jones Realty Group.
Yeah. Austin, thanks for making the trip. Yeah. How far is this from you?
I don't know. I'm just driving around today. I've been all over the place.
All over. So you're all over Houston.
Yeah, you're always between 30 minutes an hour from somewhere. So
yeah, that's a chance in this city.
Yeah.
And you're still in Houston.
Yeah.
30 minutes an hour.
Yeah.
2 hours sometimes.
Yeah. Just one big family of traffic, isn't it? So,
Yes.
That's the commonality of Houston is just traffic, humidity, and
mosquitoes.
Yeah. Tacos. That's basically
tacos. Yeah.
That's all we got. Well, Austin, thanks so much for coming, man. We always look to bring people on the podcast that have a story to tell, that have a great heart, great character. We would love to just hear, how did you get into the business? And where are you at today? What does your group look like? And what words of wisdom can you share with our listeners?
So I got into the business in 18.
Okay.
I own a music school in Deer Park. So I've been kind of doing my own thing since 2013. Before that, I was a school teacher. And in 2018, late 2017, we found out we were going to have a baby. And I was teaching music till 10 o'clock at night and decided I want to try something different and get into real estate. My brother, Kevin, was already kind of had a head start on me. And so the barrier to entry was pretty simple at that point. So I joined forces with him. He had a team at the time, the Kevin Allen Jones home team. I joined the team. I tried quitting the team. And then somehow through that process, I ended up taking over the team and firing Kevin. So
that's a story.
That's a complete 180.
So now Kevin is our market center leader. He's our operating principal. And so he focuses on agents and I focus on production clients. And so I'm running the team. We changed the name a year later to the Jones Realty Group and broke the team down. It got real simple, got real lean, and then COVID hit. Yeah. And so we slowly started just climbing ourselves out of that situation and grew a team. So
how many people are on your team today?
Yeah. So in the office, we have 5 and we have 2 assistants overseas right now. So, yeah.
How did you go about putting this dream team together? Because I know when we spoke, it seemed like you put a lot of thought into a lot of research, learning from a lot of people that have built teams. Tell us about that process.
Well, it has to be said that success leaves clues. So one of the great things about our company is that we get introduced to a lot of really high producing agents. And I mean, that was a common thread. Most high producers in any field, they're going to be like high D type personalities, real headstrong, leader's visionary and just terrible at like the admin and the paperwork and the details. But the common thread that you'll notice with a lot of these guys is they have help. They know where their weaknesses are. And instead of trying to make up for those weaknesses, they surround themselves with people that balance those weaknesses out. So, there was a book I read called The Millionaire Real Estate Agent that laid out some models. And I saw that the people that were implementing those models, they were incredibly successful. So I just started taking notes.
Yeah, I love it. So you got 5 today.
Mm-hmm.
Break down the team. What does each person do in the team?
Okay, so on the admin side, we have a director of operations. Aaron is our director of ops. Mm-hmm. He's the implementer. He's the pusher.
Right on.
Right. And then we got Alicia's our transaction coordinator and our listing manager. So she coordinates the back end of all the business. So she's really like the day-to-day operations. Okay. We have a buyer specialist who focuses on lead generating, as well as her main focus is on the buyers. And then we have an inside sales specialist, Steven. He's first point of contact for all inbound leads. One of the things we do for our sellers is we circle prospect. So we call the neighborhoods. And so he does that. Mm-hmm. And the reason we do that is because your neighbors are not going to buy your house, but we know it's like 83% of people buy within 5 miles of somebody they know. So, so if it wasn't for someone like Steven, we wouldn't be able to fulfill those promises. And then I focus mainly on lead generation and listings as well. So, so Shanna are our buyer specialists, and we mainly go on all the appointments. Okay. Steven sets appointments. Shanna sets appointments. She'll set listing appointments. I'll set buyer appointments, but she goes on the buyers. I go on the listing appointments.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great. You said implementer. So I think to traction. Are you familiar with traction?
Yeah.
So are you thinking? So was it Chris is the implementer? Is that right?
It's Aaron.
Yeah. Aaron's your implementer.
Yeah.
So in that capacity, so and then are you vision? Is that really?
Yeah. So I'm the guy that vision ideas, and he's the first one to tell me why it won't work.
Right on.
Or all the right barriers or the obstacles. Yeah, definitely. So, there's other people on our team that are just strong supporters. They're the golden retrievers, which is great because you definitely need that as well. The problem with that is they won't tell you if you're about to walk off a cliff. Yeah, because they trust you.
Right.
You need somebody like Aaron who's going to be like, wait a second, you're about to die.
Yeah.
Don't do
you mean?
Don't do that. So, so the visionaries, the high Ds are if you do the 4 animals, the lions, we can get ourselves in trouble if we're not, in the right company. Right. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. What did it look like? So, because you inherited this piece from your brother and then you broke it down. Like if somebody was either in that situation or maybe I'm at this point where I'm ready to grow. What's the first hire? Who's the first hire? What is the who, right?
That's a critical question, because I think in real estate, and this could probably be applied to almost any business, is that the first hire that most people think they need to make is a copy of themselves. So, for instance, an agent hiring another agent. Now we have 2 agents.
Right.
Or if you are a baker and you bake the greatest, cakes in the whole universe, and you hire the second greatest baker in the world. That's just doesn't make any sense if you really, really think about it. What's the first hire? Well, it would be somebody who's going to do the stuff that you hate doing. It's going to be somebody probably on the administrative side if you're not strong in admin. And if you're strong in admin, you may need a personality or somebody that's going to be more personable, that's going to take some of that pressure off you if that's not your jam, right?
Insightful.
Yeah. So that takes understanding who you are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, and coming to terms with that. If you're weak in a certain area, you may not have to worry about that. You may not have to actually improve on that. In fact, you may be much more productive if you realize what your strengths are and just hone in there and find somebody else that's going to balance out your weaknesses.
And I think I love that you say realize what your weaknesses are. But even when you're finding these people, you find that it's not just the person that you hire them just to do it. They're actually, those are their strengths. Those are the things that they're really good at.
They like it
and they love it, and they could do it all day long. They love putting things in folders. They love organization. They've been doing it since they were a kid, right?
There are people like that out there.
They are.
Yeah.
And when you
I'm
find
not
them,
one of those.
You're not. I'm not either.
Yeah, we're not, right? So when you find them, you're like, wow, I need to protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's like, thank you, God. I didn't know I needed that person. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
I love that. So you own the music school currently.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe even for someone that's listening that maybe, they're in an industry, or they're kind of like, they're going through the motions, doing the same thing. They maybe thought about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, did you kind of have to, did you just jump in, or did you have
was there this cathartic moment?
Yeah. Was there a moment? Did something happen?
So kind of the first thing that happened is our music school grew. And in 2013, we needed space. And I wasn't financially in a position to purchase anything. So we ended up leasing.
Okay.
And I did the math on that. And I could have paid off a house in 5 years with what I was paying on that commercial lease.
Goodness. And
I learned pretty quick. I was probably on the wrong side of the business. If you learn it, if you ever see the founder, the McDonald's story, that's a story about real estate. That's a real estate story. And it's important to know that the real estate is really the foundation of every business, because you need a place to operate. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of the first thing. And your question, did I just jump in? No, I put my toe in, and I fell in love with it. It was something fresh. It was a new way to help people. And it was a better use of my time. Yeah. And I realized about 6 to 9 months into it that really, to get the most out of this, I needed to go head first. And it took about a year. And then at that point, 2019, I was full time.
Right. Well, and to go back, I know I think the big thing for you guys is having, was your fourth child, or is this your first?
So yeah, it's kind of crazy. So we have 3 daughters. We're a blended family.
Got it.
My stepdaughter's 25. My oldest daughter's 20 now.
Right.
My youngest daughter's 18. So they were 14 and they were 13 and 15 at the time. And then I found out I was going to be a grandparent. So my stepdaughter and her husband. Yeah. And then a month later, I found out I'm going to be a dad again, which was insane. Wow. Because we tried having kids for 9 years, and we thought the door closed. Wow. Yeah. So
what a blessing.
Yeah. 100. Yeah.
So that changes. Yeah. That changes your whole outlook on everything. Yeah. Right? It's okay. You were a teacher before.
I was. Yeah.
How do you see that teaching background playing into what you do? How does that paint your view of what you do today with your team and your business?
I think the greatest level of value that we can provide our people is education. Okay. I think education is not only going to increase your value as a professional, but it's also going to enhance the experience that your clients are having. There's so many, anybody that's been in the business a minute, there's obstacles, there's just insane things that happen. There's crazy people out there that just complicate things. But if you can just, before we get started, let's explain the process, help people understand what their options are. Mm-hmm. It goes a long, long way. And it really adds a lot of value to the relationship, not just the experience, but, for a lifetime. So yeah, I think it's critical to educate your people, to stay educated. This is why we do this podcast. This is why we do videos. We're not, it's just important to educate everyone we're working with. So
when you look at that through, because I will say, Stephen and I will, the common thread of successful agents we see is they're coming from an education background. Yeah. It's a really common. Very common. It blows me away how common it is. And I think there's probably our listeners out there that are successful coming out of the teaching back the world. They're successful as agents now. And how would you take that education background and apply it to your team, right? What does that look like?
Yeah.
For your team as you lead them?
So one of our core values is being learning based.
Okay.
And so one of the things I look at when I'm interviewing people is if they're reading books, because not all, the phrase, not all readers are leaders, but all leaders, they're reading books. All leaders are readers. Mm-hmm. And so being learning based is important because it keeps you motivated, because motivation only lasts for like 3 hours, right? But it also, it keeps you informed, and there's only so much knowledge and experience that I can impart on other people. And so as a coach, that's like the next level, right? I can teach you a couple of things, but how far is that going to take you? But if I hold you accountable to reading a book a month or 2 books a month, your level of growth is going to be a lot more than what 15 or 30 minutes a week, one-on-one is going to do. Yeah. So, if we want people to keep raising their financial thermostats, keep expanding the perception of how much business they can do, number one is just lay a foundation of learning. Just keep learning. Just make it a high priority. Why? I don't exactly know why, but I know that people more successful than me, that's what they do. So I'm just going to copy them.
Yeah.
And then one day you wake up and, you're the person that someone is like, how do you read so much, Austin? Like, why do you do that? Yeah. What are some books or maybe some resources, maybe like 2 or 3 that you feel are really important to read, just for whether it's being like a real estate agent or someone that just wants to grow in their mindset or personally?
Yeah. So, oh man, I'm reading The Messy Middle right now.
The Messy Middle?
Yeah. Okay. Rework. One of the first business books that I read when I started really reading, personal growth was From Good to Great by Jim Collins. Yeah. There was a couple principles in that book. So I listened to that book and I remember pulling over on the side of the road and be like, I got to write this down. This is such great stuff. The principles behind leadership and developing talent. And so that would be definitely a big one. Traction. Yeah. Is a great one. The One Thing by Gary Keller. Yeah. For real estate, the millionaire real estate agent is incredible. I mean, another book that really changed my life a lot was The Miracle Morning. I think so. That's when I started waking up early, and that was Atomic Habits. Yeah. So yeah, right here. Yeah. So all good books.
Those all sound very common.
So. But if you're not a reader, I would probably start with The One Thing. It's a simple read. It's an easy read. The One Thing by Gary Keller. Mm-hmm. Just perspective. Yeah. So
I've got circled in our notes from our meeting to tell the story about your coaches, right? Your first 2 coaches. Tell us about one, like what do you like the value in coaching, and then tell us your story, because you got an interesting story with your coaches and what happened.
Right.
You had, right?
Yeah. I really can't justify sacrificing a coach like at any level. Like I think a coach is going to get the best out of you. A good coach is going to get the best out of you. It does take, if you're looking for a coach, sometimes you don't always get the right fit right off the bat. And I found that out the hard way, because when I made the decision to hire a coach, to make that investment, the first 2 coaches I had fired me like right away. So, I don't know, looking back, it could have been a couple of different reasons, but I felt I was actually kind of oppressed in a way, because the message I got there was you're valuable, and for us not being a good fit to continue together in a relationship wouldn't be the best thing for you. And so I felt like he was telling me it wasn't the best thing for me to be paired with him. So it took me a couple of coaches, and then my coach, Andy Hannigan from St. Louis, Missouri, he's the one that helped us financially really turn around and profit and become very profitable. And he said couple of things. One thing, I had a session with Andy one time, and I was just kind of complaining. One of the things that feeds our business is lead generating and getting on the phones and making those contacts, because we know contacts is going to lead to appointments, and appointments leads to business.
It really
and
doesn't matter what business you're in.
That's
it's all about that.
Selling seashells by the seashore. It's all a lead generation business, right? And I was telling him that in order for me to hit my goals, I had to make 12 contacts an hour for 3 hours. And I wasn't doing it. And I was start thinking, like, there's got to be some magic secret. Like, how do you hit 12 contacts an hour? I'm only hitting 6 or 7. I'm like, I'm going to talk to Andy. I'm going to get him to tell me, what do these high producing agents do to hit 12 contacts an hour? Because that's what I wanted to do. He said, so I explained the limit to him, and he said, Austin, is this something you're committed to? And I said, yeah, of course. He said, and just freaking do it. If you're committed, if you're really committed, you'll just do it. And if you don't do it, it's because you're not committed. I'm like, hung up the phone. It's just
mic drop. Okay. Okay.
But isn't that true? Like so many of the things that we want to accomplish, we overcomplicate things in our mind.
It on the market.
What's that?
We blame it on like the market, or we blame it on I don't know, whatever our life situation
is going on in our head at that
I don't have
moment.
the skills, I don't have the tools, I don't have the people, I don't have the space, I don't have the money. It goes on and on and on. When, if episode 3 of Think Like a CEO podcast came out this morning, he was talking about the old guerrilla marketing books.
Yeah.
If you ever read those old guerrilla marketing books, like just hustle, like you just can't outbeat somebody that just works hard.
Right.
And just push. So, man, we didn't spend any money on marketing after that or on inbound leads. We just worked.
All the people we know.
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, answer the phone. And if you can't answer the phone,
simple as that.
Call them back, and you're already in the top 10% of agents right there just doing that.
Right.
I hate to say it, but answer your phones, people.
That's funny because the barrier, some people can think that the barrier to entry is so high.
Yeah.
But with that mentality, the truth is the barrier to entry is so low.
Yeah.
Because if you just answer your phone,
yep.
If you're willing to just call people, right, and call a lot, all right, I'm committed. I'm gonna have 12 contacts an hour.
Yeah.
That means no matter what I do, this phone doesn't go down.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty low barrier of entry, and you don't have to pay for one lead.
You don't have to pay a dime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And you can create a phenomenal business.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
36 contacts a day, 5 days a week.
Yeah. I mean, we got people flipping burgers for 8 hours a day, making minimum wage. I mean, why can't we do the same thing? You can flip 12 burgers an hour. You can make 12 phone calls an hour.
Right.
Wow.
And if it's of our, like my personality makeup, I love people.
Yeah.
I like talking.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm imagining that most of our listeners are in that same mindset. We're salespeople. I mean, we're just naturally, we like people. We're gravitating towards that. So the truth is, put a phone in my hand and I'm doing the funnest thing I could imagine doing. Right. Not always the way the mind wants to process that. Right.
Yeah.
But it really is like putting us in the best possible position to be successful, because that's what we like to do.
It's a mind game.
Yeah.
It's a mind game. Our mind's always playing tricks on us. And, but how often does something horrible, I mean, I've never died making phone calls,
I've heard this thing. It's like your success rate on like problems is or like trials is 100%. Right.
Yeah.
Like you didn't die.
We're not
it out.
Right. And always, we're not saving lives in this business.
Yeah, we're not saving
We're not saving lives. What when you run against that, so how about call reluctance? You know, you're in the zone, you're making your calls, you're about to, and your mind starts to kind of talk like it does, where it's like wants to derail you. Like, what do you do? How do you respond?
You growl and you hoot and holler and you start tapping on the desk and the room starts getting quiet. You got to, that's part of our job as leaders, is to create energy. So, I mean, you ask anybody on my team, what's the first thing I do when I walk through the door? I scream.
Love it.
I shout.
Yeah.
This takes energy. Mm-hmm. This takes energy because we don't always see immediate results when we're doing this. I mean, there's been days where I've been on the phone all days. No. The sun goes down. Somebody calls me, hey, can you run numbers on my house? I got to get this thing sold, in the next 30 days. Like, you just keep going and just, fall in love with the process, and the results will take care of itself. True. Right. So, yeah. So what do I do? Also breathe, drink water, take care of yourselves. I might have ADHD. I don't know. The doctor says I do, but you find ways to limit distractions, right. And you build a bunker. You block out that time. You make it sacred, and then you tell people to watch me. It may sound like I'm trying to show off, but I'm actually saying, hey, come watch me do this because I need your help holding me accountable.
Yeah, and so you need someone there with you.
Yeah, when I give somebody the invitation to watch me do something, you're gonna make sure you do what you say you're gonna do. So
I remember Shauna said
the buyers.
Yeah, our buyer specialist, Shauna.
Yeah. She said that your atmosphere is almost like electric where you work. How do you create that atmosphere? I know, your culture, it's high energy, right?
Well, so the cool, fun answer, it's kind of like a football game. So here's what's really happening at a football game. There's a lot of people, there's community, there's culture, there's a common interest, maybe a little bit of alcohol. But you know what people don't realize? There's also a scoreboard constantly showing you every stat of every player. If you're at a baseball game, it's showing you the pitch count. It's showing you that there's 2 outs at the bottom of the ninth, full count. You got a man on second, and you need a single. And you wouldn't understand the context of what's happening if it wasn't for the data. And so it goes back to the nerdy part of the answer. On our wall are the numbers. We make a little competition. Here's the connected contacts. Here are the appointments set for the day, for the week, for the month, for the quarter. Wow. And everybody's next to each other. And we got these big TVs in our office. And we just, hey, Steven, I see you're, we're 30 minutes in. You only got 2 contacts. You good? So it's right there. The numbers are right there. So by having that data in front of you, you're able to really understand. You're able to understand the context. And so that's what makes, an exciting play at a baseball game or a football game exciting.
That is cool.
Is the context of that play, which is based on the data on the scoreboard.
I love that idea. You almost need like a gong that you
gong.
Well,
you just hit every time that you get a connect.
Right, and I like the scoreboard idea because there's one, you see your work, but you also see the work in the collective.
Yeah.
So maybe you have a day where you crushed it. You just, you know what? I had lucky dials and people were answering and they were saying yes. That doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Most of the times we're pushing through phone calls just to get answers. But to see the collective effort, right? So it's like, man, today I'm struggling, but man, as a group, somebody else filled the gap.
Yes. Yeah. And we are on the same team.
Yeah.
So with any good team, there's a little bit of competition inside of the team. Always, that. And then, but like you said, the collective ultimately is the most important thing. Is, when somebody's sick or when somebody's out or when somebody's just not, like Jose Altuve is a great example. It was like the worst hitting streak ever.
Gosh,
and we still won the World Series, right? It wasn't because of one person. Mm-hmm. And the thing that people don't realize about Jose Altuve is he probably had a tremendous amount of influence behind the scenes while he was dry, while he was on that dry streak. So, yeah, great point. It's that collective energy. It's that common goal. And so that's another thing that I would add. How do you pull it together? Well, you have a common vision and you just you can't over communicate the goals and the vision and the math to it too. So if you know what you need to do for the month, how does that break down to the week? How does it, which you can't control. At the end of the day, you can't control the monthly results or the quarterly results or whether or not you hit your annual goals, but you can control what you do in the next 60 minutes.
Right.
And so if we break it down to what do you do every hour, that's where the results eventually come from. And that's the only thing that we can really control is, another book I can recommend is The 4 Disciplines of Execution. You got the lag measures, you got the lead measures.
Yeah.
And one of the disciplines of execution is keep a compelling scoreboard and just break it down and track it moment by moment.
Gosh, it's because we can't control the output, but we can't control the input.
Yeah.
Right. And you said it's the math. We know the math. If we just play the numbers, the math will prove itself out.
Yeah.
Right.
It does. Yeah.
It really does. It's amazing how often it's like, wow, okay, that just proved itself again. But if I don't make the calls, if I don't commit to doing that work, man, I guarantee the output's not going to be anything. It's not going to be what I want it to be.
Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
Vision. What's the vision for you and your team? I know you have a pretty big vision for where you want to take this, right?
Yeah. So our mission is to help people build wealth through the power of real estate. We think that studies show, trends show that real estate is the number one way to break out of poverty. So people that otherwise wouldn't be able to buy homes, like family trends of poverty that can go back generations and generations. We see those patterns of poverty broken by ownership of real estate. We feel like real estate is important for building wealth, probably the most important way. It's unfortunate that the studies from NAR last year showed that why do people buy houses? They're relocating, they got a job, death, divorce. There's all these. They want to upgrade. They want to downgrade. They want bigger. They want smaller. But it was like less than 2% actually said it had something to do with improving their financial situation, which to me, that should be number one.
Wow.
The financial benefits of owning real estate should be more important than the floor plan or the layout or the location. Those things are all important, but are you building a future? Are you building a legacy for your family with this purchase? And you're just waiting for something to check off all the boxes when you could probably flip a house before the house of your dreams.
Right.
So.
Or we see the people that choose to rent another year.
Yeah.
Right. Or the time's not right. Oh, I think the market, I'm waiting for the market to soften, or it hadn't softened enough, or it's too, we hear all the excuses.
Yeah.
Like, man, you missed the boat 12 months ago.
Yep.
You should have bought, period.
Yeah.
And buy now, like start investing. This is building wealth for you.
January was the lowest average price per home since February of 21.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, we had the lowest prices in 2 years last month.
Time to buy.
Time to buy.
Time to buy. You're right. And that means you should have been looking in November. So you're already missing the opportunity. Because I'll tell you this, Stephen and I, our phones have blown up in January, which means that March and April, we're going to have a lot more buyers in a market that doesn't have as many listings either. So here goes the pricing. Pressure goes back up again.
Yeah, I like it.
We are. So
that's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a common vision for us in looking at our group, and it's really, how do we create $1 billion of generational wealth?
Yeah.
Because every mortgage that we make, every refinance that we do that helps the client manage that debt creates more wealth for them. And I'm with you, man. This isn't about checking the boxes on room size and square footage and the perfect yard or the outdoor kitchen.
Yeah.
It's about creating generational wealth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Legacy.
Legacy. Bingo. Awesome.
I love it. Well, Austin, thanks so much for coming, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just an awesome conversation. I feel like you said, motivation only lasts for so long. I feel like this is going to give somebody the motivation for today, or maybe, they can keep coming back to this to just get some motivation and just the encouragement that you're making a real difference. And in the lives of people you serve, man.
I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, so good, man. Thank you so much.
If you guys want to connect with Austin and his team, whether it's to learn from them or to work with them, we're going to put all the information below. We will see you guys next time on the Heart of Real Estate podcast.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Heart of Real Estate podcast. If you found this episode thought-provoking and helpful, do us a favor and share it with 2 of your friends. Also, feel free to leave any comments or reviews. And if you want to learn more about the Mortgage Mike Group, reach out. We'd love to connect.